It's more good news as top Veterans Administration official says psychedelics surpassed marijuana in bipartisan acceptance in Congress. Good news for our veterans. So, a top official with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says there's an unstoppable narrative in supporting of advancing psychedelic medicine. The combination of compelling personal stories of recovery and robust clinical data from studies he's hoping to expand upon. He also said bipartisan acceptance of psychedelics has surpassed that of marijuana in Congress. At a psychedelics conference organized by Horizons on Friday, VA Undersecretary for Health Sharif El-Nahal also discussed his efforts to position the department to provide psychedelics-assisted therapy the moment it's approved by the Food and Drug Administration, adding that he's anticipating overwhelming demand from veterans. El-Nahal said, quote, "What we need to do for our scientific community, especially with the VA, is prove the case further," pointing out that the department is actively supporting trials into therapeutic potential of psilocybin and MDMA. He added, "We want to expand that further and prove the cases for veterans." El-Nahal also acknowledged that some scientists feel the treatment option should be made more immediately available so that VA has taken into account the ethics of not doing this and how that might be ethically problematic scenarios. In the promise, these substances have already been found to have in treating conditions commonly affecting military veterans. He said that while he doesn't have any insight into the timing of the FDA's ongoing review into MDMA assisted therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, he expects it could come later this year. He said, "But if it does happen, we have to be prepared. Overwhelming demand that I predict we will get from the veteran community, there will be a proliferation of very unique and specific providers for psychedelic medicine." One thing El-Nahal said surprised him as VA started working on the issue was the strong bipartisan support it enjoyed in Congress, pointing to the leadership of a certain conservative membership and his name, and Jason, listen to this, a Republican from Texas, Morgan Luttrell, is leading this cause. They want us to do this type of work, and they've been trying to be proactive to pass even more legislation to enable this, he said. Good news is, at baseline, the Drug Enforcement Administration has a much easier waiver process to be able to do studies on psychedelics than, for example, cannabis. Cannabis has been advocated for more aggressively by the veteran community, but for some time, I think psychedelic substances surpass that in terms of acceptance and bipartisan support, he said. Oh, we need to make sure that it's continued, and that's not a guarantee. The Psychedelics conference took place about 2 weeks after the House Veterans Affairs Committee passed a bill to require the VA to notify Congress if psychedelics are added to its formulary of covered prescription drugs. President Joe Biden, Democrat, also signed into law a bipartisan measure to provide funding to the Department of Defense to conduct clinical trials into the therapeutic potential of certain psychedelics for active duty military members. That was enacted under the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. In March, Congressional Appropriations Leader also unveiled a spending package that contains language providing $10 million to facilitate psychedelic studies. And meanwhile, in January, the VA separately issued a request for applications to conduct in-depth research on the use of psychedelics to treat PTSD and depression. During a joint U.S. House and Senate committee meetings in March, ESOs also pressed members of Congress to more urgently pursue the potential benefits of psychedelic-assisted therapy and medical marijuana. Requests from the group like Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Disabled American Veterans, and the Wounded Warrior Project came on the heels of organizations at last year's set of annual VSO hearings criticizing the VA dragging their feet on medical marijuana research. In October, VA separately launched a new podcast about the future of veteran health care, and the first episode of the series focuses on the healing potential of psychedelics. FDA officials also recently joined scientists at a public meeting on the next steps for conducting research to develop psychedelic medicine. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. I think this is great, that this is all happening and it's moving forward. But the fact that the FDA has to get involved, I think, is the biggest problem. What do you guys think?
Yeah, as soon as the FDA gets involved, it's going to get totally screwed and hampered and everything. Right. They're gonna want to make synthetic drugs out of all of these and just make it a little pill, a little capsule for you to take, and it's probably not going to have the same effect, medical benefits that it would have had in its natural state, like most synthetics. And
the same success stories.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And the story we did last week about the entourage effect of the mushroom as a whole, not just the psilocybin, is what is creating lots of these positive effects.
Yeah, no, most definitely. What do you think about this, Rico? You're quiet. Are you on mute? You can't hear us?
I mean, this is pretty much a no-brainer. It's going to. You can't hear me?
I hear you now. Yeah, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't talking though at first.
Now you're muted.
You got any thoughts on this, Simon?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I think.
Yo, can you hear me? Yo,
as you sit in mushroom.
Yes, we hear you, Rico. Yes, Rico, we hear you.
Now you're frozen, bro.
Yeah.
Eric Bana.
Simon, go for it.
I've not pushed the damn thing. I don't know what's going on with this.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes, natural alkaloids are by far the best.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought.
Like I said, it has.
So, all right. Well, I guess we're just gonna keep it rolling.
What I was saying, can you hear me?
Now we do. Yeah, go for it.
Now we can. We couldn't before that.
Yeah.
Are you fucking?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rico. We hear you.
Y'all hear me? Y'all can't hear me?
I said yes. I'm not gonna say it again.
I literally have not pushed a damn button. But what I was saying is that this is pretty much a no-brainer from the jump because they don't have to do any research. Why? Because the government's already done all the research on. They got plenty of stuff already to put out there. And this was going to be fast-tracked before cannabis legislation there. So you don't have a lot of emotion tied to this legislation. So I expect fully that psychedelics is going to be passed with a quickness. And we're going to be able to get, LSD at CVS pretty soon to treat whatever ails you.
You are not going to get no LSD at CVS, bro. Stop.
Yeah, that'll be the day.
Pipe dreams. Yeah, exactly.
That'll be the day.
Maybe they'll make it a different compound and it'll just be L, and then they'll just market it as L.
Just the L, right?
Yeah.
To get the S on the black market.
Exactly. You get the SD. You get the SD over at Best Buy.
Get your Walgreens.
We're laughing, but that's real. That's actually real. Like
I was being serious, Saman. I was being serious and laughing at the same time.
I think it's obviously like there's products right now. There's
Walgreens
that are studying and they're developing new, let's call them like psychedelic drugs.
Branded
they're creating these things to kind of take away the effect of the drug, right? So I think there's a lot of interesting science and interesting synthesis that's going to happen with a lot of these, different kinds of, chemicals are going to put together to give the effect. We already see it with 4-ACO. The acetoxy and the normal, psilocybin or psilocin, the 4-HO are almost identical in the way that your brain, the brain activity of using 4-ACO versus using 4-HO. And I think that's pretty interesting. I think that's probably what we're going to see a lot of is novel drug synthesis that's going to come together with this kind of pathway. But obviously, like, we've been eating mushrooms for centuries. Stone Date Theory is one of my favorites. And I think that the idea with cannabis and with mushrooms and anything is just the natural is better. I think that what grows out of the ground, or even if you're growing it, a different way. But if you're growing it versus if you are, chemically synthesizing the same effect from a new drug compound, it's a no-brainer in my eyes. But as Jason alluded to, that's the way the government works. They want to see that. That's how these pharmaceutical companies work. There needs to be a baseline so that they can actually, titrate these drugs to the masses, right? So I, personally, I'm going to keep it all natural, keep it 100% natural moving forward. And, there's going to be accessibility, which is good, but also, I think just giving people the access to natural medicine is probably the best scenario, but of course, probably not going to happen. Less likely to happen.
Fair enough. All right,
so mushrooms grow from cow shit, right?
They grow on.
They grow from
cow shit. They're
They
sport.
grow in cow shit.
Yeah. From substrate. You can grow
from cow shit, but they grow in cow shit.
That's like their fertilizer, Rico. It's their dirt, their soil, their living soil, technically.
Hear me right now. Buy stock in Big Beef. Buy Big Beef stock right now. Watch. This shit goes.
Oh, you're saying buy stock in Harris Ranch?
Who's going to win? Big Beef. Subsidy.
Harris Ranch, you're saying, is going to turn into a mushroom farm? Is that what you're telling me?
I think we're going to see lots and lots of new inventions and, to extract mushrooms and to measure mushrooms, test mushrooms, and all kinds of new tech is going to be invented to create it, make it better, faster, stronger. So I think this is all good. I think it's going to be a big psychedelic revolution.
Yeah, definitely quantification is a big deal, Todd. Shout out our boy Friday Ventures in Colorado. He's doing, he's using a light lab to do, to test for, a lot of random growers or whatever that are growing mushrooms that have this product. They want to test it and see what the potency is. And he's actually pretty spot on with his method. But that's absolutely right. Look how long of a curve it was for cannabis testing, right? So of course we're going to see that. We're going to see that.
Still, nobody believes it, and still, not one grower believes the result, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Shout out to a company called Hypha Labs. Hypha Labs is creating this desktop bioreactor that you can create psilocybin from mycelium in just 8 days without even flowering the mushroom.
Wow.
Which is really exciting and new in the mushroom space for sure.
Shout out Hypha Labs.